Hello, everybody. I'm Will.
And I'm Kristen.
And this is So I'm watching Pretty Little Liars, Original Sin, Season 1, Episode 9.
Dead and Buried.
It's all coming screaming back to me.
These last 3 episodes are jam-packed.
They really are. It's largely working for me.
Yeah.
Although there are a handful of things that I'm sort of like, Farron has embraced her natural hair.
Yep, yeah.
And
seemingly in direct opposition to her mother.
That seems to be the case. I really loved her like long sleek hair, but this is also she's gorgeous. So
it doesn't really matter what she does with her hair. It's incredible.
I also like that shady is like a catchphrase of hers.
Yeah, it's fun. I like it.
I don't understand why she was so mad at Kelly. Well, okay, so I love this this trajectory for her.
For Kelly.
Farron. It's very relatable because I was always in dance and theater and stuff when I was a kid. And I knew I liked it, but I never liked doing it. Like, I was like, this is weird. And then when I got to high school, I was like, oh, I want to be the creator.
Gotcha.
So I was like the assistant director and like the designer for all of our high school stuff. And so I really like that she's like, oh no, I want to be the choreographer. I want to like make these things.
She's also making like a biblical, seemingly for Christmas, like Adam and Eve.
Like an allegory or like a reverse.
Yeah.
With Henry and Kelly. And I guess Kelly, like, well, they were rehearsing one time, made a move on Henry.
Yeah.
And he felt like he needed to tell Farron.
Yes,
and
of course.
Why?
Because he's dating Farron.
Are they is that known?
They've been kissing in every episode.
Okay.
They are dating.
Okay.
He was like coming clean about
okay, that reframes it a little bit for me. So I knew that they had kissed, but I guess they didn't make a big thing about it.
Oh, I
was sort of like
they're dating.
Yeah,
they went to the carnival together. And stuff. Yeah, they're definitely dating.
That irons a lot because I think I went back to the whole like Greg and Tabby naked thing. Like I was interpreting it as Kelly was being inappropriate at work.
Oh,
that's how I was internalizing that plot. But if it was about she made a move on him knowing he was, so that she
may not have known, but then it was like the scene with Kelly made it clear that she did know, and she was like so sorry because she was like it was an accident, it was a mistake.
I still was thinking that she was like she got in trouble at work by her boss. I missed the subtlety there. and then Kelly went in for a hug with Aaron, which I swear to God, I thought for sure she was about to kiss her.
I was
about to be like, we need to get Kelly some help.
Yeah.
We still need to get Kelly some help, but...
Well, Farron seems to be doing a kind of bang-up job so far, although she is... she covered it pretty well, but, like, who else could have told her about him getting blowjobs from teens except for Noah?
So I think she was quasi calling his bluff.
Yeah, she absolutely was. She covered herself.
Meaning that, like, plenty of people. This is apparently a pattern of behavior.
Yeah.
So anyone could have. Also, the way that some of the things are phrased on this show is so funny to me. It's like patented teen show. It's what I love about these shows. But there needs to be a balance. And so far, this show is doing a great job.
Yeah. Kelly
and Farron, when they were talking about it, Kelly was talking about how it was prompted, but she was like, my father is like...
Was it when she found her cut on her leg? Was it in that scene?
No.
Oh. Kelly said something about her father.
It was one of the times that Farron was talking to Kelly, and so it had to have been when she was... her period. And
she was bleeding from a cut on her leg. She was like, it's my period. And I was like, yes.
My vagina's on my thigh.
From the cut on my thigh.
So Farron's sort of like checking like what's going on, what's the matter. And she was like, my dad misses Karen. Like she was saying like he might as well have said or like,
no, it's like he wishes that it had been me instead of Karen. And Farron was
practically said as much.
No, it is true. After you left, he looked me deep into the eyes and said, I am ashamed of you.
No. It's a little more veiled for it. She says he wishes that it was me instead of Karen, me that fell instead of Karen. And Farron is like, no, I'm sure not. And then she goes, I mean, he said it to me. He said as much.
Okay. So she said, I think he wishes this. And I was like, he literally does.
said the words.
And Farron was like, that can't be. And she was like, he practically said as much. And I was like, no, he didn't practically say.
He said it.
He did.
He
was like,
the words.
It should have been you.
Yeah. He literally and in front of Martha too said, I wish that you had fallen instead of Kelly. Or instead of Karen.
So was that all of Farron's?
That is.
So no, she went and challenged the sheriff, as you were saying, and basically sort of outed. Well, she basically was like, you need to be nicer to your daughter or I'll tell everybody that you diddle little boys.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, then I'm sending Noah back to juvie. And she was like, interesting. Noah didn't say anything to me now, but I can't wait to go compare notes. And he was like, curses.
Yeah.
Which
was excellent covering on her part. And then I did actually really love the moment where she like left his office and then had like a mini breakdown right outside.
I was like, she was snake eyes. And the second she got out of there,
she was like, yeah, it was great.
And so I love that. And then at the end of the episode, her mother is miraculously out of that wheelchair. And
not even like still like a walking cast or anything.
Like a limp or
she's totally fine.
And she was going to get her father, Zeke, out of custody because he was arrested for having a taillight out. And
that's not an arrestable offense.
Yeah. And so it's like the sheriff is raging.
So she goes to Martha and Kelly and is like, hey, I got to talk to you about the sheriff. And she basically tells them, and Kelly is shocked.
Well, Kelly was like, ew. Yeah. Dad's a homo. It was really very funny. And Martha's like, give me a father and his demons.
With her rosary clutch in her hands.
But before we pick up
there,
granted, you probably already watched this already, but Tabby's still working on her thing. Wes is still being creepy.
I argue he's being the least creepy so far.
That's what I was saying last week. I was like, oh, are we like hand waving this away? But then Sydney catches wise.
Well, she like puts some pieces together that don't completely fit, and she just assumes.
Well, she's right though.
Wes is not the one that raped Tabby, I don't think.
Well, she's right that he's being inappropriate with her.
He's right that she's being inappropriate, but she comes in guns blazing. You raped my daughter!
You've been grooming her. She gaslight, gatekeep. She threw every buzzword down. It was a really great scene.
She said grooming and she said rapist. And the whole time Tabby is like, you have no idea. Like, it's absolutely not him.
And Chip is there. And well, Wes also made it. Things were escalating so fast in that scene in this episode. We were like, wow.
Because Wes was like, I made a move one time. And then and it was like, dude.
And he also
keep your crimes to yourself.
She was like, what are you, 30? And he was like, I'm in my 20s, which I got 36 from the fact that he said he was the same age as Ari Aster. So I don't know. I don't know what we're doing with that.
Yeah.
Where we are with that.
Does this somehow take place longer ago than we thought?
I mean, maybe he meant like, maybe he's the age Ari Aster was when Hereditary came out, or like when he wrote, or I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Ari Aster is Hundo P, 36 years old, so
I'm not entirely sure there, but yeah. And so then Tabby and Chip had a conversation where he was real icky.
Yeah, he was like, she was like, I thought you were into Imogen, and he was like, yeah, only because they can't have you.
It was like the butthurt friend zone dude, and he maybe because Tabby wondered if maybe he could be the one who assaulted her.
It seems like right now it seems like no. With the evidence that we have right now, it seems like no. He's butthurt about it, but he like kind of took it on the chin and left, unless he was like lying in wait for her although that was at a house party, not a bonfire party. And she got raped at a bonfire party.
So that was the party.
That must have been Kelly's part. That must have been when Imogen got raped.
Was that her wondering if he went after Imogen?
Maybe.
Oh, if I can't have you.
Yucky.
I like
also, it's like neither of them is a substitute for the other in any capacity. It's not like the Kelly and Karen thing. It's like they are two very distinct people and personalities.
Greg had a hilarious scene in this episode, and it just makes me terrified that we're keeping him around so that that's the reveal, is that he's the...
Okay, no, it was very bodega worker at the beginning of a Law and Order SVU episode, where it was like as if this was the first time we had ever met Greg.
Because what was she asking him?
If any of these 66 high school boys were at the bonfire party over the summer.
Well, because they determined it wasn't one of the football players, so I guess it couldn't have been Greg until the next piece of evidence they introduced into the next episode. But it wasn't one of the football players, so it was one of the others. And so she was like, "This was your party."
Yeah,
was this boy there?
Any of these 66 boys?
Mm-hmm.
Does anybody stand out? And
he
also,
basically said no, and then went to go drink milk with Stephanie.
I don't know if that was Greg saying that. I think it was just background dialogue.
I think it was Greg.
Was it?
Yeah.
He was like, Stephanie, it's your turn to buy the milk today.
Yeah.
Who is Stephanie? Why?
That's the only way that line of dialogue makes sense, because why else would there be that incomprehensible?
I have no clue. The other thing, too, is that we are, with these DNA tests, we are literally only pinpointing who raped Imogen.
Mm-hmm.
It is not confirmed that it's the same person that raped Tabby, and there's no physical evidence of Tabby's assault. So, I just not efficient.
And so Imogen doesn't believe that her mother killed herself. They did open with them having like a powwow with the moms.
They told them kind of everything. They're also, as per usual, they are very convinced that like Joe was A and that's it.
And it was very mixed messaging in the meeting because they were sort of like, we were bad, we were mean to that poor girl, girls used to be meaner, and so we need to talk about it so that it doesn't keep happening.
Yeah.
And so we're going to talk about it now, but then we're never talking about it again, and nothing can ever be. And I was sort of like, so are we talking about it or are we not talking about it? That was sort of funny. So Imogen doesn't think that her mother killed herself.
Yeah.
And they have to exhume the body in order to test further, because they had determined that the wounds were self-inflicted. And in order to do that, she had to go to the sheriff. And in order for the sheriff to do that, she had to get permission from her father. And
like an adult next of kin.
And so we met her father. He wasn't anybody. It seemed kind of pointless because he signed off on it, but then the body was exhumed anyway by someone else, presumably A. So I'm not entirely sure what that waste of time was.
Again with these people just coming at these teenage girls with like 100% certainty. The sheriff calls Imogen and was like, I told you I'd do it if you got the paperwork, but clearly you came out here by yourself in the dead of night and dug up your mother and took her body away. And I was like,
so now it's time to go harass black men. Like,
what? She is 38 weeks pregnant. She's got 2 weeks to go. She is so pregnant. She could go at any minute. And it's just like, I know you came out here and dug 6 feet into the ground and then pulled
in the Pennsylvania winter.
In the Pennsylvania December, and then pulled the entire coffin out of the ground. The coffin is sitting on the ground next to the grave hole, and then took your mother's body away. That is like a placental abruption waiting to happen. It's all insane.
This is the Red Riding Hood in the carriage all over again. No, yeah, that was dumb.
Mouse.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but I'm trying to think of a transition other than like, and then we had Mouse. Well,
it seems to be at least over the thing with Steve.
Well, but what was accomplished?
Nothing.
Okay.
Except for now her moms know.
Yeah, I don't understand. So, well, she had Wes.
Ash.
I apologize. Apparently, I'm tired. So she had Wes come.
Ash.
Do you want to take over because you're a magnitude of...
I'm an order of magnitude more tuned in than you. Okay.
Poor little me.
Poor little me.
Teeny tiny. Simple.
Okay. She basically in the previous episode had told Ash that she was in contact with her father, and she technically was, except for then I had forgotten that Ash met Steve. And so she and Ash and Steve went bowling, and then Steve got a really alarming phone call, and she was like, Dad, what's wrong? And he goes, don't ever call me that again. And so then later she like reaches back out to him again, and he's like, they found Rachel. And I was immediately like, obviously dead, right? And she was like, oh my, she was like, oh my God, that's so great, Steve. Is she at home? And he was like, no, you cow, they found her body.
You absolute pooter. she was like in a landfill.
In a landfill, that's right. And so I hate that I'm laughing so hard at this.
Because I meant when she took him to meet her parents. And they were like, so, trans man, middle of nowhere,
oh
what's
my
that
God,
like?
yes. Well, it was just Elodie. The other mom was like, dude. And then we didn't even see and obviously, yes, sometimes I'm sure Ash is scared in this small town. Regardless, we cut away from that to her to Mouse just being like, I'm really sorry, like I can't. And that's when he's like, maybe we should hang out with your dad. And so that's when
this is like 5 layers deep of I'm not sure what her end game is here.
Yeah.
Because as long as she's dating Ash, she's just going to pretend that he's her dad.
So she basically, when she's on the phone with Steve, he's like, can you come here? I just want to like talk to someone. And she's like, sure, totally.
And I was waiting for him to snap. They were framing it like he was like on the razor's edge.
Well, he was on the razor's edge of something.
I was like, it's gonna cut to him and her standing on a bridge over an icy river.
This is where I last saw her.
Yeah. And then the end is that her parents just find her because they track her phone.
Yeah.
And they knock on the door and she opens it and is like, it's done now. And he was like, hey.
I mean, he was pretty catatonic on the couch, but...
And she was wearing these like weird clothes.
No,
and they were like, what are you wearing these weird clothes for? And you were like, the ones that look identical to all of her other weird clothes.
Yeah, he made her put on like one of Rachel's outfits, which begs the question, like, when did Rachel go missing? Are those her actual clothes, or is he buying clothes that would fit Mouse that look like something Rachel would have worn?
Because all of it was very infantile.
Yeah. Yuck. Ugh.
So we still don't know what she's doing, why she's doing this, what she's getting out of it.
Well, I think she's done doing it now. And now that her parents know, they won't.
Which, if it were a one-time thing, that would weirdly sort of make sense. But the fact that she's like dozens deep and now it's like this is the first bad experience.
Yeah.
And her mother, Elodie, did recognize him, or he recognized her. So somebody recognized somebody from the support group. So I'm sure it's going to come back up again.
Potentially, yes. Well, Noah is like still working at the pizza place covering for her mom while she detoxes by herself at home with her sponsor named Grace, who later is nowhere to be found. The guy who Marjorie was paying in the back of the pizza place. Well, yeah.
And she owes him money.
And so he came looking for Noah's tips, and she was like, absolutely not. And then when she got, Sean came as well, and he was like, I definitely already threw all those pills away that you found. And she was like,
that's good.
I don't buy it.
To which he told her three different places she could look that they were definitely not.
They're somewhere. And then so she went home, and the dealer guy was in the apartment, and she grabbed a baseball bat and fucking went for it. And made him leave. And then fucking Marjorie, just useless. She was like, I needed his help. And it's just like, where is your sponsor, Grace? You don't need, it's very the Hill House, where he's like, I need you to go buy me heroin. I need like one more to like get me into rehab.
That's like a thing.
Yeah. And then I think
caught a few intervention marathons.
Yeah, of course. Who hasn't? I guess the rest is that when Farron is over at Kelly's house, Martha is like, when she's like, your father has his demons, it's just like that girl from high school or something. And in the meantime, Imogen's getting a phone call from her dad that's like, I remembered something about your mom's boyfriend from high school, and his name was Tom or Tommy. She was like, Tom Beasley? And it's just like, yeah, 100%. And then Martha admits that he raped Angela.
So it's logical, but it feels obvious to me. Like, it's like, oh, so the bad guy's a bad guy? Like, the guy who's been a dick the whole time is the villain?
I don't think he's A.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
He absolutely raped Angela. I don't think he's A.
Okay.
But adding in the twist that he was dating Davy is interesting, too, because they were, like, shitty together. It was, like, the two of them being super shitty. I liked it. I liked that we got the confirmation that he's the one that assaulted Angela, but I also liked adding in the twist that he was, Because they also, Imogen was like, what did my mom do to Angela? And they only told the bag of poop story. And I was like, that is...
And they called it, like, something. Like, they called it, like, filth or...
Yeah. Sydney was like, a bag of filth at this man's door. And I'm just sort of like, that's not enough. And that is Imogen's whole point about trying to get her exhumed. She's like, why did my mom feel so much guiltier than everyone else if that's the only thing she did? Meanwhile, all of the flashbacks we've seen, it's very clear that Davy is the ringleader of these 5 girls. And so she had to have been pulling the strings on everything. And if Sheriff Beasley is the one who raped Angela, you would kind of have to imagine that
Davy was involved
in that somehow as well. It has to be.
Well, we have one more episode.
Yeah.
So
we're going to watch it.
I'm going to hope that it
explains itself.
So, okay. I think that's it.